Hello everyone, I'm FunRuns, and you may have seen my recent short, well, somewhat recent short, that I posted about a month ago. In that short, I asked 2 questions that unfortunately nobody could get correct. So in this video, I will be explaining the correct answers to both of those questions. To start off, at Cool Gems Gaming and at Become a Natural Disaster did attempt to answer these questions. At Become a Natural Disaster was kind of close to getting the first question correct, while at Cool Gems Gaming seemed to have some trouble on their end with the code. And they also said it was JS, which I think means they thought it was JavaScript, but I am not entirely sure. Just to clarify, the code was actually a version of Lua, Luau, I believe. So before we jump into the answers for both questions, I will be going over the code again and hopefully answer any questions that you guys may have had. Now we can start going over question 1. In question 1, we start out with a for loop. This for loop says for I equals 1, 10 do. What that's doing is just running through 10 times. Then underneath the for loop, we have a conditional statement. And this conditional statement says, if I is greater than 5, then. Basically what that's doing is just checking if I is greater than 5, and then it's doing what is underneath it. If it's not greater than 5, then it will do the else part of that statement. In the beginning, we start out with I being equal to 1. If I is equal to 1, then I is going to start out being less than 5, which means it's going to run the else part of the statement. Since it's saying print I minus 1, and we start at 1, it's going to subtract 1 from I, which is going to make it 0. Then we have the if I is greater than 5. I'll go over that quickly. So basically, if I is 6, 7, 8, 9, or if it's 10, then it's going to run that part of the code. If I is 6, it's going to print 8, because 6 plus 2 is 8. And that is basically the logic behind the first question. For question 2, we start out with a variable. This variable is called value, and it is a Boolean data type. It is set to true. Then you'll notice a while loop beneath it. This while loop is just simply checking if value is equal to true, and if it is, it's just going to run the loop. Beneath our first loop, we have at first a variable, which is called seconds and is set equal to 4. Then beneath that, we have a for loop. So this is going to go from 1 to whatever the value of seconds is. The value of seconds is 4, so it's just the same thing as 1, 4. Then you have a wait statement below that basically just waits 1 second before running the next line of code. The next line of code prints the value of seconds. So the value of seconds was 4, so it's pretty much just going to print 4. Then we set value to equal false, which will basically shut off the while loop at some point. Now we can finally go over the output and we can see what the actual yield was from both of these questions. The answers for the first question are 0 to 12 in the output, and then the answer to the second question is just simply the 4 with parentheses and then the times 4 beside it. What that times 4 next to it means is that 4 was printed 4 times. Now I will go over in a little more detail how question 1 kind of worked with this answer set. So since I starts out as 1. As I mentioned before, our first printed number is 0. And that is because I is less than 5, so it runs the else part of the conditional statement, and it subtracts 1 from whatever I is. And it's going to do that all the way up to 5. And the reason it prints 8 is also what I mentioned before, how it's going to then get to 6, then it's going to be greater than 5, so it's going to run that part of the conditional, and it's going to add 2 to I is 6, so it's going to be 8. And then it's going to do that all the way up to 10, so 10 plus 2 is 12, so that's why it stops at 12. And then for our second question, we have 4 being printed 4 times, and that's because it runs the for loop the amount of times that seconds is, and seconds is set to 4, so it's just going to run the for loop 4 times. And then it's just going to print whatever the variable seconds is. So it just prints 4 each time. It does that 4 times. And then it shuts off the while true do loop because it sets the value to false, and if the value is false, it can't run the while loop anymore. Hopefully that helps explain the answers and why the comments were incorrect. Now I'm going to take a moment just to look at the subscribers wall. I really do appreciate everybody who subscribed. And unfortunately, from this last Trivia Shorts video that we had, we won't be having any new trivia winners, but that is okay. Other than that, that is pretty much it for this explanation video. I hope that you all enjoyed, and I certainly hope that you all have an amazing day today as well, and I will see you all next time. Bye!